All right, I am here with Louise Potter. Hey, Louise.
Hey, Jennifer, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Great, thanks.
Good. All right. All right. I am here with, oh, we already did that part. But anyway, we're talking
Okay,
about,
we'll do it again.
we'll do it again. Louise Potter. She is the Ohio broker for eXp Realty. Hey, Louise.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good as soon as I can figure out how to use a computer. Anyway,
It
so
comes back to you, trust me.
So let's talk about stigmatized property and like, does it have to be disclosed or not? Best practices, like, tell us everything.
Well, this is a timely topic because we've had a couple of those just recently. They do exist. And, the first thing is what is a stigmatized property?
Right.
So a stigmatized property is that has something attached to it that could affect potential
Either
buyers.
positively or negatively.
Or negatively, yes. And it's all in somebody's manner of perspective.
Right.
So what is a positive for some is a huge negative for others.
Like a haunted house.
Yes, there are people who thrive on that, and there are people who absolutely positively would never live in a haunted house, or a proposed haunted house, or something that just it's rumored that it's haunted. Stigmatized properties, like I say, it's not a material defect in the actual construction or situation of the home. It is the, double murder suicide. It is the person who died. It is the the ghost. It is any number of things that can create, where somebody goes, "Ooh, I don't want to live there," or "Ooh, I really want to live there."
Like maybe is a stigmatized property also like one that was like in a famous TV show or something like that, or a famous person lived there, or like whatever?
Could be, yeah, it could be the Amityville Horror, or it could be the Brady House.
Right. So in the state of Ohio, it is not required to disclose like if there's a ghost or if somebody was killed there or died there.
Correct. It's not required because it's not a material fact, defect in the property. But it is, I always say err on the side of disclosure. Disclose, disclose, disclose. And the biggest thing I think of is Gladys Kravitz. Because as soon as that buyer moves
most of the people don't know who that is.
You got to watch reruns of Bewitched. I'm sorry. No matter how young you are, it is the nosy neighbor who is over there in a flash the minute the buyers move in, knocking on the door and saying, "Ooh, can you still see the blood stain in the den?" And it's like, what do you mean? Yeah. So the best practice is to disclose always. And how you do it, it can be done in different ways, but it is always going to be found out.
Right.
It is always going to affect somebody positively or negatively. And somebody's not going to be happy they weren't told.
Well, and I feel like if somebody has a strong belief, either way, positive or negative, then it is a material defect, right? Because having known that information, they would have made a different decision potentially. So that is material.
Well, to me, material defects are, like the wall is bowing in, or, something that they can't see. But it truly, it could almost be a material defect. Yes. Right. I mean, if you want to look at it that way. To me, it is something that has to be disclosed at least to a buyer prior to writing an offer. So, because I would hate to go in contract and find out that, the St. Valentine's Day massacre occurred in the basement of this home.
Right.
That to me, it wouldn't sit well, quite frankly,
right.
Or that, a serial killer lived there and they found 14 bodies in the backyard.
Right.
Or even that, Aunt Mary died upstairs in the bedroom, but she never knew she died and she's still hanging around. And she'll, she's cooking dinner and, opening the front door for guests.
But I guess I mean, I think that makes sense to we did a podcast on this, like, should you disclose? And I think I was on the side of like, it depends, you know? But I do understand like your perspective of like, okay, it's better to know and make a choice than it is to not know.
Right, right. And if
But
you've
if
got a
it's
house
stigmatized,
that's
it feels like people already know.
not necessarily,
Mm.
and it comes down to too, you as a buyer's agent, we're that higher knowledge thing that we've talked about
Mhm.
before, you're supposed to know that.
Well, but where is it
And you could
borderline
get sucked into it.
where's it borderline on gossip?
Well, if you Google the house address and the newspaper article about the double murder suicide comes up,
Mhm.
probably, you should have done a little investigation.
Okay.
Um, but the whole key is, if you've got a stigmatized property that you're listing, to
Mhm.
have a discussion with the client.
Mhm.
First step, client says, absolutely, Jennifer, no way. I do not want you to say a word. I don't want you to disclose. You don't have an obligation to disclose.
It's not a material defect in the state of
Yeah.
Ohio.
I don't
Like,
want to tell
have to.
anybody, oh, but Jennifer, I've already had the neighbors talking to me, just walking around your property.
Right.
You might want to just, why don't you talk to your attorney
Right.
and see what they would recommend?
Mhm.
Because, this could come back to haunt you literally and figuratively after closing.
Right.
If you don't disclose to at least the interested buyer, we don't have to put a sign in the front yard. We don't have to put it in the MLS.
Right.
We don't have to do those things, but it may be the prudent, reasonable thing to do to tell that person, because Gladys and Kravitz on either side are going to
Right.
be over here talking to your
They're
buyer,
gonna find out.
and it could really bother that buyer.
Yeah,
And
but to the seller's point and just playing devil's advocate, it doesn't matter.
but the lawsuit can be expensive and it can be
Yeah,
time consuming.
true.
And that's, they may be found, not guilty, but there's a lot of time and energy that goes into a
Yeah,
lawsuit.
true, true. That
And
makes
that's where I'm always thinking, they may not win, but do you really want to go down that road?
sense. So you're if the question is should you disclose to stigmatized property, you're a yes.
I am a yes. I really am a yes. I'm at least disclosure to interested buyers prior to them getting into contract.
Okay.
Because, and that's somebody who has serious interest. I mean,
Right.
you've called me,
Really
you've told me you're writing an offer.
right.
Jennifer, I just want to make you aware, if you remember in the news 10 years ago, you may not
Mhm.
remember because you're too young, but there was this double murder suicide. I
Right.
just want to make you aware it took place in this house.
Right.
So
Okay.
just let your buyers know.
All
Your
right.
buyers may say, ooh, cool, I love that, or your buyers may say,
There is like a meme about that for the millennial buyers. Have you seen it?
I haven't.
There's a meme about it. That's funny. Okay, well, I mean, that makes sense. I guess.
It is, again, it may not be necessary, but is it right?
Hmm. Ethically.
Ethically right? Is it fair? Or honest?
Hmm.
That's where then if your buyer says, I absolutely don't want to disclose, and it's something you feel that should be disclosed, then you have a decision to make. Is this a listing that I really want?
Right.
Because peripherally you're going to get sucked into that lawsuit as well, just
Right.
because that's typically what happens.
Right.
Well, you knew about it and you didn't tell me.
Yeah. Right.
So the time, energy, and problems that can occur are many. I mean, we did have a house with a murder suicide, and the neighbors were there within 24 hours of the buyer moving in.
Of course.
They had no idea,
Oh my God.
and they are very understandably quite upset.
Do you know any states that it is required to disclose like ghosts and stuff and
I
news
really,
stories? Like,
yeah,
because
I don't.
it seems weird that it would be required because it's like, okay, first of all, ghost, that's like, can you prove that a ghost is there? Like, what does that even mean? And then a news story, it's like, what was in the news? That's like, isn't that basically the same as a Boeing wall?
I'm just going off of what Ohio Revised Code defines it.
Mhm.
So, that's where I have to look at it. To me, again, I'm definitely an era side of disclosure. You
Right.
know, I even if I've sneezed on it, so funny, I probably will disclose it.
Yeah.
It is to me the best thing to do. If you've got a house that has like sensational stuff, that could even be a marketing point.
Right.
It's going to remove some of the buyers, but
Right.
the buyers that are coming in are pretty interested.
Right.
So you sit down and you discuss with that seller, how do you want me to market this? Do
Right.
you want me to tell people? Do you want me just to tell interested buyers? Do we want to play this up?
Right. Like, what
Because
do
this could
we
be kind of cool. But
maybe.
we don't want people coming in just to gawk.
Right.
But if I'm selling again the Amityville horror house, I'm probably going to disclose that, but most people should know what house it is. But
Right, exactly.
you
Exactly.
know, but
Yeah.
it is it's a judgment call, and the very first person that really you should discuss it with is your broker.
Mhm.
That's what your broker's there for, to help you wade through some of these things.
Right.
Or if you've got legal counsel for your company, or
Whatever.
somebody,
Mhm.
at least run it past somebody and get some input on it,
Mhm.
so that you're not wading into it alone.
Exactly. That makes sense. Well, speaking of brokers, if people want to get a hold of you, our broker, what is the best way?
Best way is through, you can reach me through workplace chat.
If you're an
If
EX.
you're an EXP agent, if
Mhm.
not, oh.broker@exprealty.net. So don't forget the .net, or Louise, Louise, .potter@exprealty.net as well. Or my cell phone. You can reach me all kinds of ways. 614-226-6981.
Awesome. Thanks for being on, Louise. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Stay away from ghosts.
We'll definitely will.